Just a nice gentle sway today, huh?
Yeah, today's a gentle sway. You know what? I'm taking a page out of Isaac's, the little dog I'm babysitting, taking a page out of his book and just going with the flow. Although I would have appreciated if he'd walked a little bit faster. Well, I don't know how much true zoomy resonance it is when you basically got two old men who are kind of like, we move slightly faster.
Well, you know, they're zooming for the dog version of Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon.
Oh, God. Why did that get me that bad?
I just think of the part in the Supernatural episode where Dean and Bobby both get cursed with aging. Mm-hmm. And then they're both trying to, like, race up the stairs to save, or, like, race to help Sam. And it's literally now Dean's in an older body than Bobby. And so Bobby's yelling at Dean to hurry it up. And Dean is like, why am I dying? And Bobby's like, it's acid reflux, you idiot.
I thought you were going to say it was turning into a supernatural version of The Odd Couple or Grumpy Old Men.
Well, I mean, it kind of is, too. So it's a great episode.
Anyway, hello, Voidwalkers. Hello. I'm Dave.
I'm Liz.
I'm E.
And we are
the
Confabulators. Play that back, Voidwalkers. See which one of us ruined it.
I started first, and then you two joined in, and that was when I kind of lost my train. But we did not start together.
No, we did not.
No, we did not.
What are we talking about?
Ooh, we have a fun. I say fun loosely because these generally aren't fun for those living in them. Dystopians. As today's topic, something we see a lot in science fiction because science fiction likes to look to the future.
Yes.
And the future can go two different ways: utopia, dystopia.
And since you mentioned that, let me throw a couple of definitions out there and see if y'all agree with that. Mm-hmm. So, and let me get through both definitions before. All right. So a utopia is a setting that agrees with the author's ethos, having various attributes of another reality intended to appeal to readers. Whereas a dystopia offers the opposite. It's a portrayal of a setting that completely disagrees with the author's ethos and is intended to, not appeal to readers, like the opposite of that.
Interesting. I generally agree. I'd never heard it framed from an idea of it agreeing or disagreeing with the author's ethos, but I mean, it makes sense, though. Sense. I just did not heard it framed that way. Yeah.
It's like, a fascist's idea of utopia and a progressive's idea of a utopia are going to be two entirely different things. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when it's an element of, it's the perspective. If it's a dystopia, then I was thinking about this while I was walking the dog. This dystopia, the main voice is disadvantaged by the world they're living in. Whereas if it's a utopia, then hypothetically they're being then they are at advantage. Everybody's benefiting. Because the other side of it I started to think was, can utopia and dystopia coexist in the same story? Well, that depends on whose narrative it is.
Exactly.
I think they can.
One person's utopia might be another person's dystopia, but then again, the person who sees it as utopia might be in the point of privilege.
I was thinking that you were saying it as like one place, country, city, whatever, is a utopia, and then there's another one that's nearby that's a dystopia.
Yeah. That makes sense too. It was something I got to thinking about of just how much of it is perspective based. Like if you're on an external perspective looking in, like a narrator, is it that this whole place is and this whole place is not? Is it, if you're like in a first person perspective, is it dependent on where you fall within that society? Because to the person who's benefiting from the societal structure, they might think they're in utopia. I mean, you kind of said it there, like a fascist utopia is going to definitely be benefiting them.
Yeah.
but it's going to be really not the same thing for the people who are all disadvantaged by it.
Because, Dave, I'm actually really glad you brought that up, because it's something I've thought about a lot, in that I think a lot of us are conditioned to think of utopia and dystopia as an all or nothing thing, particularly when we think, especially when we kind of apply those to the real world as well. When we think about,
Mhm.
dictatorships and the like, it's easy to kind of flanderize the dictatorship as like, oh, everybody's suffering, when the reality is the way such systems work is, no, there's usually a privileged class that really loves the system and gets a hell of a lot out of it, and then there's a perpetual underclass that suffers and has to sacrifice or be purged for the sake of the privileged classes.
Yeah. Yeah. Is put down, is limited, is often hidden from sight,
Mm-hmm.
too, is barricaded, is isolated, is, we talk about kind of like, yeah, like, they're in ghettos, they're in other areas, they're in colonies, they're sort of forced also out of the sight of the privileged class, because the privileged class, part of how they, and I guess it's where you almost want to say it's more like false utopia, because the privileged class sees it as utopia, but is it really? So then that goes to, I would add a throw-in question too, is it possible to say that there is such a thing as true utopia in terms of something where we're not just putting down, where a utopia that doesn't exist at the expense of somebody else?
I'm actually kind of glad you used that exact phrasing, because that, I didn't know when to bring this up, but this is a perfect segue for it. Have either of you read Ursula K. Le Guin's The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas?
I have not, but I'm familiar with it.
Okay, so for you, Liz, are you familiar with it?
No, I'm not familiar with it.
So the long
this
story
would be great.
short about Omelas is, it is a short story Le Guin wrote, a seminal science fiction fantasy author. We lost her some years ago, but she was definitely one of the greats. And it is about this fictional city called Omelas. And Omelas is a utopia. The people there want for nothing. They have everything they need and more. There's just one catch. It's not explicitly elaborated, the mechanism behind it. But all of this prosperity, all of the utopian reality of Omelas, is predicated literally on the suffering of this one specific child who is kept immiserated by the system and the people who run the city. And the ritual of Omelas is, as you grow up in Omelas, you do not know about the child. The children do not know about the child. But when you come of age, you are taken, you are introduced to the reality, you are introduced to that which has upheld your everything, that has provided you this wealthy bounty of non-suffering blessing. For you, anyway.
Yeah.
And so, then you have a choice at that point. The choice is not ritual, but it sort of becomes one in a way, that either you decide, I'm fine with the suffering of this one child. We are deliberately making this child suffer for eternity for our benefit. Because, I mean, pure utilitarianism, the rest of us are doing great. There's no crime. There's no anything bad. Or you are shocked and horrified, and you become one of those who walks away from Omelas. And that is obviously this is a metaphor for, the systems we live under, growing up and realizing the injustices and the predations that our society, or even our imperfect society, is built upon to keep it running, so on and so forth. And how do we, how many of us end up actually walking away from Omelas? It's like the
Yeah.
as the final line goes, night falls, the traveler must pass down village streets between the houses with yellow lit windows and out into the darkness of the fields. Each alone, they go west or north towards the mountains. They go on. They leave Omelis. They walk ahead into the darkness, and they do not come back. The place they go towards is a place even less imaginable to most of us than the City of Happiness. I cannot describe it at all. It is possible that it does not exist. But they seem to know where they are going, the ones who walk away from Omelis.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's funny that you mention it. Like I said, I'm not familiar with that particular short story, but that same thematic storyline was actually used in The Beast Below, which was the second episode. I believe it's the second episode of the Matt Smith Doctor Who run.
Yes, I remember that one.
And they do the same thing where the whole idea, because they've got basically they're in a period of the future where countries have formed their own essentially ships, and they're on the spaceship, UK, and it's this whole thing of the kids. Once you reach a voting age, it is revealed to you that, oh hey, our entire ship is being carried on the back of a star whale. And we exist because the star whale is enslaved to our system. And that becomes the whole thing.
I'm slamming the freedom button.
Going. Yeah, but it's also in the whole idea being too of everybody's horrified with it, but regardless of how you vote, if you vote against it, they basically just feed you to the whale, I think. And then if you vote in favor of it, they erase your memories so you don't have to live with the guilt.
Yeah.
And so, and that's the whole premise of that episode is, the Doctor and Amy uncovering that, and the Doctor's horror of autonomy being taken from this creature that came because it heard the cries of their children.
Well, and not just the creature, bearing in mind I haven't seen this episode, but it also takes away the autonomy of people who choose to stay because they are made to forget. And so
exactly.
It's as if they weren't even aware of that possibility in the first place. So
they go through that too, because it's like, I think it's that they have Queen Elizabeth, the whatever umpteen millionth Queen of England, is like,
can't escape the
doesn't
monarchy.
realize how many times she's voted for them to keep going, and so each time her mind is, I think the guy who's kind of overseeing the whole thing tells her, he's like, this is not the first time you've come down here, having put the pieces together, because there's all these little subtle clues, like the ship doesn't vibrate like a machine would vibrate. It flows smoothly, which is like, this doesn't make sense. This ship should be vibrating. And it's because it's on the back of a whale, not on the back of a machine. And that number of times that the Queen, in following this mystery, has ended up in this same spot and confronted with the same decision. And each time it's like a reset. It's like, it also points to the inevitability of a certain broken system. It's inevitable. They know she's going to come back to this decision every time, because every time she follows the clues there.
To me, I think that's like a weaker version of Le Guin's.
I mean, they
story.
had 1 hour, so
I mean,
they have to do the brief version.
But
I mean, and to spoil as well, it's also one that wants to be a little less morally complicated, because what ends up happening at the end, again, spoilers, folks, skip 30 seconds if you need to, they free the whale. And it turns out, depending on how you look at it, this is even darker. Nothing bad would have happened if they had freed the whale at any point. Like, the entire reason they have not is because they thought it would lead them to their destruction, the whole thing flying apart in space, everyone dying catastrophically. And instead, it's just, nope, whale's free, and whale doesn't bear a grudge. She's gonna tug you along through space anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's Amy's whole thing of she's saying, it was right there in front of you the whole time, that the whales came because they heard your children crying.
Yeah.
So they came because they wanted to help, and they're here because they want to help. So why are you hurting this creature that wants to be here and make sure your children don't suffer?
Which I do think that is an important theme, because it's like it reflects a lot about life itself, and the way we, what we've talked about in the past, the us versus them, us and the other. The whale in this case is the other, and the distrust that, how could this thing that is so unlike us share an interest with us, let alone work in symbiosis and cooperation with us to achieve a mutual beneficial end. So therefore we must oppress it and exploit it and so on and so forth. And in reality, he's like, no, people can work together. People can achieve mutually beneficial ends. It doesn't have to be a dystopian nightmare.
It's also an episode that I will say, structurally, it's also working because it's also doing a sort of semi-other job, which is structurally setting up Matt Smith's moral compass as the Doctor.
Exactly.
Because this was like the second episode of his entire run. So it's also sort of establishing, kind of reminding the audience, because they'd had 3+ years of David Tennant, like 3 seasons and I think another year of specials from David Tennant, who was so powerful. And I think they were taking the time to kind of a little bit set up that this is not going to be the same guy reacting, because he gets legitimately angry.
There's a kind of a venom that comes out when Eleven is angry. Yeah,
there's a and it's to me that's where it's sort of serving a dual purpose, where it's also about setting up like it's setting up the fact that this is not going to be the same Doctor reacting in the same way as what David Tennant did. Again, it goes to what I loved about the series, that they allow each actor to own it, so they don't try to make each Doctor the exact same, but that's a whole different thing. So, side note. But yeah.
I love Dave's processing face here. Audio listeners, he's making his processing face. And now he's smiling because I'm commenting about the processing face.
Yeah.
We do that. So I want to back us up a little bit, just since, we're getting in deep, but I do want to just back us up for fun. For funsies. And what's a dystopian movie you all watched recently? Just off the top of your head. Not even the most recent one, just like the first one you think of.
Hikaider.
Golly, the first one I think of? I mean, 1984 is the first one I think of, but I think that's because it's probably the most famous one.
I mean, if it's also the one you first... That's kind of...
Featuring another Doctor Who alum, John Hurt.
Yes, yeah.
Which I will note...
bursting out of it this time.
Yeah.
This time
I'm not going to get hard and deep into his biography. It's a really fascinating one, though. But Orwell has always been a democratic socialist in his views. So looking at his writing from that stance is incredibly important.
Yeah.
And I say this because
just to give just one small bit of background to give an idea of how ardent he was about that. He actually went to Spain during the Civil War and fought on the side of the anarchists against Franco's forces.
Yeah, he went to another country to fight fascism. That's how much of a democratic socialist
that is
he is.
Having a core belief.
That's also where he got having a core heavily disillusioned with the Soviets.
Yeah. And that's a whole big thing. But I bring this up because I've also recently saw a video that an essayist made about 1984 and how everybody, no matter what political stance you take, can point to it and can agree with it as if it's from their standpoint. Which is very fascinating.
Yeah.
In that everybody can go and read it, and then they go and relate it to them, and they go, yeah, that makes total sense. Which is why, in part, so many people use it basically as a cudgel, to the point where somebody goes, well, we're closed, it's Sunday and we don't open. Right? And then they go, this is Orwellian. It's no.
That's so Kafkaesque.
Wrong. Incorrect. Wrong usage.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to note that it's so pervasive and so well known and so overused that to even people taking it and just going, my freedom's of speech or whatever, though, Orwellian. And it's I'm not even part of the government. And even if I was, I'm not currently using my thing as saying, please shut up, as a government entity. There's no government power behind that. So
Like, I'm not
no,
making
it's
you
not.
shut up. I'm just asking you to please shut the fuck up.
Yeah, and then that's Orwellian because how dare?
Yeah, it's sort of rules become or rules and restrictions at any point become Orwellian. It's like I think I think of the you keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. They use Orwell like, and I'm not just speaking of like one party. Like a lot of people do this. They'll use Orwell as a cudgel. They'll use 1984 as a cudgel. To a lesser extent, because less people have read it, I think. Brave New World and Animal Farm are used as cudgels. Things like that.
All of those sort of like social constructs. And well, it's funny you mentioned people haven't read it. Actually, Brave New World, Animal Farm, 1984. My English classes in high school did not actually have those. Like, I think there was one area where it was optional to pick like something, and I think 1984 was one of them. But I picked to read Dante's Inferno, so I actually never read any of them. And it was just kind of which is funny because I had classmates with other English teachers who did end up having to read them. It was just the nature. I ended up in all the English classes where either the option included other ones and I just happened to want to read one of the other books, or it just wasn't in their like planned curriculum.
Hold on a second, guys.
Ours, what happened?
Okay, there we go. It's fixed. Okay, that's just something I will have to keep a memory of because, wow, apparently trying to open a book for reference will make us disappear for a second. Sorry about that, video folks. Audio folks, you didn't see any of that, so.
on my side of things in school, we read Lord of the Flies by William Golding.
I did read that. Yeah, we did read that one.
To the point where we even had to like pick a scene and reenact it. The group that I got in reenacted the scene where Piggy gets killed by a rock.
Oh, jeez.
I don't even know. I wasn't involved in choosing that. They were like, oh, this will be cool because high schoolers.
Yeah, high schoolers feeling high schooler edgelord attitude.
I don't think that they took away the meaning of the book.
I mean, yeah.
But yeah, so Lord of the Flies. But I did read 1984 later at a library, so I was still able to get that in.
Yeah, I have it on like my list of things I need to read. It's just that's a long ass fucking list. So details.
Later on, I picked up a book called Julia.
Oh yeah, you've mentioned this before.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember who it was by. But
I'll look it up for you.
Yeah, thanks. But it's the story in 1984 from
Sandra
Julia's
Newman.
perspective. Sandra Newman, yes, thank you.
And authorized by the Orwell estate.
So with Julia, it's running parallel with what's his name? I can't remember the protagonist's name in 1984 offhand.
It's running with the protagonist, so
it's
damn it,
it's George or
no
something like that. Like
Winston. It's Winston.
Winston, that's it. Winston. Fuck, what a boring name, which is very fitting for the story. But
yeah, he's like the perfect everyman. Like the perfect everyman Brit for the era, in a way, I think is, or at least I think is Orwell's intent in that. Yeah.
But Julia runs parallel to Winston as far as the time goes because we're following her side of things. Interestingly, though, and Sandra Newman did get permission and the good graces of Orwell's estate to make that story. She goes past the point where Julia and Winston end in 1984. So you get to see more that happens. But you also get to see the experience of women in that world, as opposed to like Winston's kind of boring
it's male centric in so much as that it doesn't really go outside of his sphere almost
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah. Which makes sense, you know.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I mean like his
In that regard.
personal sphere. He's antisocial is a weird word to use in the context of 1984 because that entire society is antisocial. Like, one thing I'd love to point out that I love to point out about this is like, you know, speaking of things that are Orwellian, everyone talks about the surveillance state being so Orwellian because the thing they know from 1984 is the view screens that view you back. And Big Brother is watching you, so they kind of, if they don't read it, and so they instinctively think, oh, the government's watching you through the view screens. But that's not how they get you. And it exemplifies it very well by Winston's co-worker at the end, because you find out, like, he sat down in the Ministry of Truth with Winston, or Ministry of Love, I forget which, and it turns out the thing that got him, he was bad-mouthing Big Brother in his sleep in a dream, and his children overheard it and reported him. His own children,
Oh, yeah.
his little kids, reported him to the government as a dissident.
Yeah.
To say the surveillance state is actually peer-to-peer surveillance.
Exactly.
Where it's called you are incentivized, even if it is just socially incentivized by fear. You are incentivized to report on your neighbors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's Red Scare right there.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, it's the Red Scare. It's like, it's the Nazis. Look at all the stories back then of people ratting out their neighbors for being dissidents against the state. If either they were Jewish, they were queer, they were communists, etc., etc. It's like there's a reason the term "good German" exists in the lexicon. It's like maybe you weren't like a card-carrying member of the party, but hey, you were a good German during those years, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yep. I want to touch back on that later after Orwell.
Yeah.
So, by the way,
Folks, this is going to be a dark one.
Yeah.
we're talking about dystopians. What else is expected?
But
Flowers and gaiety.
you know, but to give a massive contrast to 1984, I want to bring up one that's also incredibly famous, but is quite poor to be very gentle about it. Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand.
I've not even touched that one.
It is exemplifying of her cowardiceness and her cult. Because that is who she is. She is a coward and a cult leader.
Yep.
Past tense, because she's fucking dead.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
That'll
So
lose any libertarians we might have had left in the audience for that one.
oh no.
Yeah, they're just conservatives with extra steps.
So Atlas Shrugged is
Sorry, not sorry.
yeah. Atlas Shrugged is a novel that is about how the government, the United States government, is putting down more and more laws and regulations and causing people who are viewed as good, who are trying to make business happen, as putting them in a bind, so to speak. And things like forcing people who ask for a cigarette, for example, to pay them, right? It's like if I were to go up to you and be like, hey, you got a cigarette? You'd be like, give me money or else, to get the cigarette. Instead of just going, here you go. Because if you just say, here you go, and you just hand it over for no money, then you are not doing it right.
Yeah.
But basically it follows a bunch of executives and magnates and stuff like that, focused a lot on trains and steel, because that was the time in which she's in.
That's a big trade commodity, and it's critical. Yeah.
Yeah. So they hear about this mysterious person called John Galt, who is trying to get business leaders such as themselves to leave the companies and basically strike against people that they call looters and moochers, right? And the looters and moochers are the average Joe worker who wants civil rights, who wants basic rights, who wants to be paid fairly, who wants a fair wage, and health care and other things like that. But they didn't work for that, so how dare they? They work for their boss, and their boss is the one who should decide. Laissez-faire capitalism and all that stuff.
And let's not forget, like, the way they structured this is that it, like, Rand is at least smart enough that in her conception of the world, she has to create the fiction that it's the titans of industry who are the people creating all of the advanced technology that the world depends on, not, all the wage slaves that make it for them.
And not only that, but the funny thing is that she's having to make these magnates and titans victims, right? And she's trying to make them victims so that way people can sympathize with them. And they have this business that makes all this money, and yet they can't do the things that they need to do. Poor pity them, right? And the funnier thing is that with this world, the whole premise rests on the bad guys, which is like the government, being both incredibly strong and yet super weak.
Where have I heard
at the
that
same time
before, Dave? Where have I heard that concept before?
I think you know.
Echo the Dolphin?
But
oh wait, no, Umberto Echo's 14 points of fascism.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's very cowardly. And it's very slapstick cartoon in the sense of these bad guys who both have to be incredibly powerful and yet also inept and weak and unable to do anything in order to make the good guys, who are these important magnates, who, by the way, because they are in the position they're in, they're supposed to be viewed as the sexiest people as well as the smartest people, because that's Ayn Rand's viewpoint, is that if you are in a position of great power like that, and you are considered sexy and smart, whereas people such as myself or either of you would be considered super duper uggos, and why would anybody look at you, let alone give you a moment of a chance at anything, both sexy and smart? You're just a waste, and you should be.
Context of Ayn Rand is it's a thing.
Yeah,
yeah,
and
well, there's
and there's ironies to it. Not only did she get into a relationship with a dude, but she cheated on him with another person, and he cheated on her with another person. And
such lovely people.
And when she tried to get one person to see how sexy the person she was with, her husband, was, that person turned the husband down, and she got so mad about it, she turned into kind of a stalkery type for a bit, because she was so upset that how dare you not view this person as sexy the way that I view them. You are clearly wrong, and I need to correct you.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And another irony involved in her is that, so she's this objectivist, she's this libertarian kind of right-wing type. She took government assistance.
Yep.
Because she couldn't do anything about it. Oh, she had to, because her health was progressing poorly.
It's the same thing we see in people, like, I mean, I've seen it with the people arguing about debt relief, who are like, college students don't deserve debt relief. I paid off all of my loans. Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean they have to suffer the same struggle you went through to pay off all of your fucking student loans.
Yeah.
Shit's fucked up.
We don't have to
Just
repeat,
because it sucked for you doesn't mean it has to suck for everybody else afterwards. Maybe we can learn from why it sucked for you and make it better.
we don't have to repeat the cycle. We can stop the cycle. But yeah,
Exactly.
if you look into who all is influenced by it and who says it's their favorite book and stuff like that, as well as people who frame things like BioShock, which is clearly influenced by it.
It's influenced by it, but it is not a fan of it
in a parody kind of way, satire kind of way.
Which fits with BioShock's tone anyways.
Those people who are into it are very clearly the same types. Like Elon Musk, for example, Mr.
Which
Smelly
US
Man
Treasury
himself.
Oh, right. Alan Greenspan was like a disciple.
Alan
like,
Greenspan.
Like the,
Yeah.
you know,
He was.
He was the chairman of the Federal Reserve for like, most of our, or like half of our lives.
He was,
Which is why I was...
but near the end of, I think it was after Rand died, somewhere in the 90s, he did he was testifying to Congress or something like that, where he said that actually, no, it doesn't work. Objectivism does not work.
Yeah.
It fails. He was forced to admit that because the data is there.
Yeah.
It does not work.
To quote my old boss, data don't lie.
Yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned this.
There are still cowards and losers who follow Ayn Rand and objectivism, even though only Rand and the guy who helped her for the rest of her life, I believe, were actually considered objectivists, and everybody else had to take on the label of student of objectivism.
Oh my god.
Of course, because nobody else can achieve their role. They are the... Which is
They're
why,
cult.
for a moment, I want to give us all a moment, because I've got one other thing related to this that you made me think of, Dave, but I want to give us all first a very... a very eloquent quote about Ayn Rand. Courtesy, South Park. Because that's the other, when Bar Brady learns to read. Yes, at first I was happy to be learning how to read. It seemed exciting and magical. But then I read this. Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. I read every last word of this garbage, and because of this piece of shit, I am never reading again.
Oh.
There's
From Officer Bar Brady learning to read.
There's 4 long monologue speeches in Atlas
Oh
Shrugged.
god, isn't one of them
And
literally
during-
100 pages long?
One of those, the longest one, is like 33,000 words.
Fucking...
And during this entire time of every speech being given, literally no characters described as moving.
Yeah, it's
they are
literally
frozen in
static.
place as person vomits words at them. And guess what? Oh my! We're all in a tizzy now because they're right and they proved us wrong because shower thought speech got us. Fuck!
And yet you had nothing leading people. Yeah. It's a little bit like it sounds like from this, and I mind you, I have not read Atlas Shrugged. I have not read Les Mis. I think I would rather read Victor Hugo's 60 to 70 page description of the French sewer system than I would read Ayn Rand.
I'm with you on that.
So the other thing you made me think of, because I did not realize this came out of Ayn Rand, but it's an interesting element of using an idea, but then I think subverting it a little bit, was The Expanse. The Martians actually use moochers as a term for people for Earth, the Earthers, for people from Earth. Because the whole idea in The Expanse is that in this future, Earth there's a lot more government assistance programs. Basically, the economy does not work the same way anymore. It is not conventional. There's a lot of applying, getting in, competing to get a certain role and move out of it. But the Martian impression of people from Earth, Earthers, is they literally say, in the show, they're moochers. They're moochers. They're just people living off government assistance, whereas in Mars, military service is required. It's expected. You will serve your term. It's this. And it's sort of that they've pushed this idea of work together. It's an honor to work for Mars. It's an honor to strive because they're all working to terraform Mars, because they're all working towards the dream. But it's an interesting element because that whole idea, when they take the character of Bobby, who's Martian, when she finally goes to Earth and decides to sneak out of her quarters, to go see the ocean because she's getting frustrated with everything happening and feeling like she's just being used as a pawn. When she sneaks out, she ends up basically in what most of New York City has become, which is like a Skid Row.
Yeah.
And she's basically sees firsthand that these are all the people that we call moochers, and these are people who government assistance is the lifeline out of here. Government programs are the lifeline maybe to get out of here, but some people never get, most of these people never get out. Yeah. She meets a guy who literally is like, trades her for her drugs, trades her for the meds that she's taking to help her adjust to Earth gravity and like being on an actual like planet like Earth. And he trades her and she's like, oh, you just want the drugs? And he goes, well, no, these actually help for these people over here. And she's like, are you a doctor? And he's like, I'd like to be, but I've been on the wait list for 50 years or something. It's decades he's been waiting to maybe get an opportunity to actually study to be a doctor and have a real career and come up out of living in what is literally a slum. And that's what most of the city is outside of like the UN. Like or what you kind of get the impression is that it's like, oh, the UN makes it all look really pretty, but actually,
I mean,
this is all fucked up. And it becomes an interesting subversion of Bobby's mentality of these people aren't mooching.
And it makes so much sense. Like they don't elaborate on that angle about it too much, but I think from seeing that and what we see with the way things are handled in the belt and like the way that, oh God, who was the guy who was the CEO fucking around with the proto-molecule to begin with? What was his name again?
Oh, Mao.
Like, when you see, like, the level of, like, just utter corporate unaccountability that Mao is allowed to have in this system, like, I mean, I think it's not didactic about it, but the picture it paints is one of a deeply corporate dystopia. And I think it's kind of the one that, like, if you look at the CEOs we've got today, what they'd like to build themselves. Like,
they want to be Mao.
Yeah.
Are they named after Chairman Mao?
I don't think so. I don't think that's
no,
the
it's
intention.
Just, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, for one, he's an arch capitalist. So.
Yeah. So, but yeah, when it's kind of brings me back to like what I was saying earlier about utopia and dystopia, is it depending on perspective? Because The Expanse, I feel like it's very dependent on whose perspective you're looking at. You know, and that's where they kind of continually subvert their ideas because they have characters being confronted with the reality of this is what's actually going on versus what we think is going on. You know, or the person who goes, this is all great, I live in a great thing, you know, Ava Sarala, when she finally is out, like, in the belt and being around and suddenly being more around how messy this is. Now, she doesn't necessarily have illusions, but it's still a shock to her, suddenly being kind of boots on the ground and having to hide and being helped by these people that she used to think she was superior to.
Yeah.
So... yeah, it's funny because like I said, it's funny because you mentioned moochers, and since I've never read Atlas Shrugged, I'd never realized that term was pulling from there. But it makes so much sense. But what The Expanse does with it, that is obviously not Ayn Rand, is they take it as an idea that this makes sense that Martians might develop this idea and perspective, especially because they're very fueled by the propaganda, by pro-Mars propaganda and Mars superiority and Mars enlightenment. And, you know, we work for our thing. We're Martians. We do all the hard work. You Americans, you Earthers, just mooch off everybody. But it makes it a huge point. It's a way to quickly establish character development so that when Bobby is suddenly out in what is essentially the Skid Row of New York in the future, it's a shock to her. And you can see her trying to process of, these people are barely surviving.
Yeah.
You know, like the realization of she never says it, but you can kind of see that she's processing. These people do not have it good. I thought they had it good because the government just gave them everything they wanted and they're lazy, but these are people who are living worse than we do. So, you know, because the haves and the have-nots, which, by the way, common theme in dystopia.
Yeah. Haves and have-nots. It's usually there.
Very much. Now, I'm curious, Dave, because this is on the notes here, and since I'm not familiar with it, though I will admit that I am seeing a lot more about it with his next book coming out and the other projects he's involved with, I guess. Dungeon Crawler Carl, I saw noted related to Dystopia.
So,
which, for our Voidwalkers, I do just want to offer a hilarious tidbit that Dave already knows about. That I told him that independently, my brother, who is also a Dave, was talking with me one day and goes, by the way, have a book series you need to read, Dungeon Crawler Carl. And I'm like,
he's not wrong.
Both the Daves are saying read this. I guess I should.
I think there's a new one that's about to hit in the next couple months.
Well,
That's why I'm
actually,
seeing a lot about it.
If you pre-ordered it, it's already here.
Oh.
Mine came on the 12th when it should have been the 20th, which I don't know what happened there, but you know,
maybe a perk for pre-orders. But yeah, I've been seeing a lot from celebrities. Felicia Day. She posted about it. She's apparently a huge fan.
Who?
Felicia Day.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, she's into nerd culture.
Yeah,
stuff
no, well, that's what I'm saying. There's been I've been seeing stuff everywhere. Celebrities were huge fans.
Oh, who is leading the adaptation on that now? I know. It's
which adaptation?
There's a TV show in the works. Oh, right,
Okay.
Seth MacFarlane. I remembered because I remembered Dave's
That was the other conversation.
reaction being a little sad.
So
we'll leave that for another thing. I want to hear Dave tell us about Dungeon Crawler.
So there's multiple adaptations. There's an audio version, both as in like official audio book narration reading, and an audio version that's more an audio play that's also officially recognized and allowed. There's also recently a Kickstarter, not on Kickstarter itself, but a Kickstarter site where they are crowdfunding the Dungeon Crawler Carl TTRPG.
That's the one that I sent to you that I found. I was like, I don't know how valid this one is, but it seems like this site does do other stuff.
It's real.
Okay.
Yeah. So
have you already committed to it?
I don't have the money. I have
that's fair.
I have an adjunct paycheck. I am lucky to have
That's
money.
Oh, I know that feeling.
But there's been people who've gotten early copies and have reviewed it. People in like the YouTube D&D circles, Jenny D, for example, she created a character in it. I think there's like some groups who ran like a one shot or something like that. Little things like that. So that's out there for people who are interested. Obviously, there's official merch. Like you can go to Barnes and Noble and go to that section, get merch like stickers and stuff like that. But the story itself, it centers around a man named Carl who lives in Washington State, and
amazing name, by the way.
And he has, well, not his cat, but his
ex-girlfriend?
Girlfriend's cat named Princess Donut of the Queen Anne Chonk, aka Princess Donut, who is a light brown Persian cat. She's got the flat pancake face, mustache stuff, everything, right?
It just gets better and better, Dave.
And she's a prize cat. Like she goes and she does cat fashion whatever
so shows where they'll usually have like the judges
cats.
Out. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've seen it. Those are actually it's kind of cute to watch those, by the way, because the judges bring them out and they're usually like, here's the toy. Let me talk about this cat. And so many cats just being utterly absurd during those.
Yeah. She's a show cat, has won multiple prizes, multiple first places and stuff. So she's very well pampered. So one day, Carl is alone in the apartment at night with Donut, and Donut hops out the window, which is a second story window, I believe, into a tree.
Oh no!
And so Carl's like, Donut, get down. And so he goes downstairs, and he's in a pair of white and heart boxers. And
That's on all the imagery I see from this. So that
and
Ghost and Goblin style.
After he's out there, every building and vehicle and anything that has an inside in that sense completely flattens. anybody who's inside is killed immediately. And this happens all around the world in one shot. Just boom. Right? A lady neighbor who was complaining at him from her window has her head rolled up to his feet because she gets decapitated.
So instantaneous mass extinction event.
Yeah. There's a lot of people who are still alive. I forget the number offhand, but it's a lot, right?
So is it like everyone who decided to quote the internet, to touch grass?
Yeah, more or less. So he gets Donut down from the tree, and there's an alien voice that is that he can hear, and he sees text crawling in front of his face and stuff like that. And it's explaining roughly what happened. Basically, aliens are here, and you have the opportunity to either participate in these games, or you can stay on the surface of the earth and do whatever. Who cares? So Carl sees an opening with stairs leading down, and Donut hops out of his hands and runs toward it. And so he runs after her. And then he's in the dungeon. And so that's how it begins.
I kind of love this premise.
His girlfriend, who he has learned is basically cheating on him, is possibly somewhere in the world, possibly dead. It's not known in the first book. And I'm only going to talk kind of about the first book because I want y'all to read it. It's a good series. So he and Donuts are running around. Obviously, it's no surprise. In the very beginning, Donut is given a biscuit and this, like, a treat, and this treat makes her intelligent and able to communicate verbally. So she talks.
Donut the talking
instead of just
cat.
meowing. And sure enough, as a pampered show pet, she is as sassy and fancy and high class as you can imagine.
Okay, but is she sassy? Like, okay, I'm gonna have to interrupt you to ask this. Are we talking like the Disney Homeward Bound 2 Sassy the Persian?
We're talking
Cat
if Blanche Devereaux was a cat.
Oh, so we're like, so that's more like that's more like.
Thank you for
what was it,
being
Ma?
a friend.
That's more like, yeah, that's more like Ma. What's her mom's name?
Sophia.
Sophia. That's more like Sophia. Okay. Sorry, I just the only, Homeward Bound had Sassy, the actual person cat who was kind of sassy, but she's
No, we're talking
it
Blanche.
sounds like this is more Sophia. Yeah.
No, not Sophia. Blanche.
Oh, more Blanche.
Yes,
Thank
she
you
is
for
more
being
Blanche.
a friend.
But
I love it.
And they have a mentor named Mordecai, who whenever I see him on page, I always hear him in Danny DeVito's voice. He's also fantastic. But it basically turns into an RPG, right? But it's life or death. You can, if you die in the dungeon, you die. But there's opportunities if you make it far enough to escape. And the big prize, if you make it all the way through all 18 dungeons and stuff like that, is that you get recognized as basically the leader of the world. You get that recognition as being the one. But it gets wild and it gets brutal. And every level, there's like a theme or something that's like a little different to it. Like in the current one, A Parade of Horribles, which is the most recent one. The theme of it is you are racing against other people. In the beginning, it starts with NPCs. And there's rules. And it's got kind of a wacky races vibe. But deadlier. It's not friendly like Like if Penelope Pitstop gets a tire blown out, and oh shucks, what's she gonna do? It's okay. You get a tire blown up, then you probably get killed.
Well, my most recent impression of Wacky Races is the South Park parody of it, and Matthew McConaughey gets sucked into a void hole somewhere. So
Yeah, but each one has like a different thing to it. Another one has people that are trapped in bubbles, and you have to get out of the bubble. There's a whole like underground subway system one where it's like this massive maze. Like it's very imaginative. And Carl learns how to make explosives, and he starts leveling up explosives. But the cool thing is that, yeah, he has explosives, but he doesn't use explosives for every single solution. He thinks in a wide range of different ways to solve problems that feel very, very challenging to solve.
I can see how this lends itself well to, why somebody would even try to make a TTRPG with this, because it lends itself well to most that I know of.
And in the story, as you do things, you level up skills and stuff like that. So those things can come in handy. And as you get to certain milestones in those levels, you get new advantages for using those things, right? Like with explosives,
Isekai is spreading.
Yeah. You might get the ability to hold on to dynamite longer, so that way it doesn't blow up immediately in your hand, or it's not as volatile in your hand. So if you shake it, it won't just suddenly explode, right?
Yeah.
But if you hand it to somebody else who has no skills in that, they might like take it from you and then explode because like they rattle it in some way and they don't have the skills to handle it properly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You have the steadier hand and can hold it in a stable state versus somebody who's, coming in going, I'm trying to hold it.
The funny thing about this world is it reminds me of a audio play that I used to listen to that I still have. I still have all the episodes for it. And it's a sub audio play because it's within a bigger thing. The bigger thing is called Technical Difficulties, and it's by a man named Kyan Chris Conroy, who doesn't do the stuff anymore. I don't know what happened to him. He just kind of stopped. But I know that he was struggling with things like depression and stuff. But the sub thing is called The Account, and it follows a man named oh shoot, I forget his name. But it follows him, and he's a knight of a corporation, and he goes out, and his job is to find out what's going on with this account. And it's an account for this malevolent force that is slowly taking over the world, and he's having to fight it. It's like a dark fantasy, urban kind of world, and different people have like different little powers and stuff to them, and like it's really well done. And he does almost every voice other than like one or two in the very beginning he doesn't do, but the rest of the time it's all his voice. And he has a great range for all his voice work, and the way that he deals with characters, the way that he does the music himself, the sound effects, everything. Like, it's really good. And I wish that he would come back to it and finish it, but I understand, he might not be able to for a variety of reasons, which is heartbreaking to me, but if he's taking care of himself, that's fine.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so now you'd mentioned Dungeon Crawler. Yeah, I can words here. Dungeon Crawler Carl. I feel like that's a very common thing for people to just get caught up on that. Am I right? Yeah. Or am I wrong? Okay. I was like, dude, what did he do? Did he name this deliberately to make us all suffer as we try to say it fast?
I don't know.
I know. I'm just
I do know
laughing.
there's
But
like an RPG subgenre called dungeon crawlers.
Yeah, lit RPG.
There is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and they even have like, I know Magic Arena is added in like the dungeon crawl element to it. Like if you're playing Arena online, you've got like there's a dungeon. Because my dad, the number of times I've talked to my dad on the phone where it's like, okay, poker or Arena, which one are you distracted by right now? And he's like, well, I'm going into the dungeon. It's like, okay, Dad.
Does it do the classic first person view where you're just going through corridor after corridor and it's like it disappears. There's like the horizon line of darkness.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm curious. So, because I know you brought this up as being part of dystopia, and so I'm kind of curious.
What the dystopia is?
Yeah, what it is that stands out to you that makes it dystopia.
So
I'm curious about that
the
now.
dystopia of it is the universe. And what I mean is that different factions have a shitload of money. And most people in that universe, it feels like they don't. It feels like whenever a world is populated, there's an AI that exists within that. And when it comes time for, hey, it's Dungeon Crawler World season, they have the planets, whatever faction is already lined up. So they're planning it all, sorting it out, all that stuff. The people on the planet don't have a choice.
I was going to say, that's what it was sounding like when you said, especially the aliens showing up. It's like, so the overlords that don't even see these as
like
people who don't deserve this, as souls that they don't see these people as people, they see them as entertainment.
It's entertainment, it's profit, it keeps people distracted, it generates a ton of money. Like that's the basis of it. And because it's something that generates so much money, they keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And each time, a different faction or corporation, when it's their turn, they pay a bunch of money to fund it. And then, when it runs, they get a certain percentage of money. And, talk shows bring crawlers in to talk about their experiences. In the midst of it.
What it reminds me of in a way? It feels in a lineage, and given what you've described about the book and the author, I imagine he's had to have read this before. It's like it reminds me of I think it was the Vogons in Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Back then, it was like destroying Earth to make a highway, an intergalactic highway.
Because it was also supposed to parallel the whole Arthur Dent trying to stop the construction workers from bulldozing his own house to make a highway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like, and it elaborates on that kind of conceit of like, in a way, in this case, like we've talked about us versus the other, in this case, in a class metaphor, the other that the alien represents is this upper class that has like you said, they don't even see us as people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's pervasive throughout the series because there are times where people outside of Earth get to interact with the crawlers. And in those moments, you see them treat the crawlers as if they're not people, as if they're not citizens, as if they're not actual sentient beings deserving of recognition on that level. They're treated as if they're chattel, as if they are entertainment, as if they are toys to play with.
It's interesting because this also seems like it's in a vein too of the Running Man. As well. Now it's with different veins, especially the entertainment angle, and even in the book and the Edgar Wright Running Man, that one, those both, his version was much more closely in line with the book, whereas Arnie's is not quite as accurate to the book. But even that one still has that same element where it's the way people are presented, they don't see people as people. They see them as entertainment. So when these people are getting brutally murdered on screen, the audience doesn't see it as crime and brutality and cruelty and inhumane. They see it as entertainment. They see it as profit. They see it as, I won my bet or I lost this bet.
Yeah.
You know, and then in the books, and then the newer movie, because the newer movie echoes that, have it take it even a step further, where the audiences, and this, they go over this in the books, where the way these shows works, audience participation isn't just encouraged, it's incentivized. Audience tips on the runners that, you know, audience tips on the runners that turn out to be accurate result in basically payouts to the audience member who reports it. A payout that results in a kill is a really big payout to the audience members. So all the more audience members are encouraged to be recording, be reporting, say something, you know, and it even becomes an incentive there too, because it's like, oh, this is easy money. We get $10,000 if we report the person and get them killed. It's an even bigger pay bump if the audience member that sees them manages to kill them. And so these humans aren't seen as human, which becomes the challenge for the main protagonist as he's trying to escape, and he's struggling because he realizes he can't appeal to the humanity of people.
Yeah.
You know what it reminds me of? If I may? Like Liz, what you're talking about there with The Running Man, the book version, it reminds me of the novel version, I haven't seen the movie, of Battle Royale. Because
I've seen the movie of Battle Royale.
At least
I've seen it. It's been years since I've seen it, but yeah, I mean, what I know of the book, because a friend of mine, the friend of mine who ultimately showed me the movie in college, also had read the book, so I definitely got some inside scoop from her.
in the book, you find out like the explicit purpose of the program is just so distrust among the populace. Like they basically pick a random school class. So just to basically kind of be this demonstration of like cruelty and the idea that like you can't trust anyone because like these people you all know at any given moment, right conditions, you'll kill each other and not even think
the masses. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, that was it.
I was gonna say, and then if the masses, if the masses are too suspicious of each other to band together, then they can't rise up against you, the elite upper class.
Yep.
You know, it's, I mean...
And in the end, the thing that foils this instance of it, or at least as best as it can be foiled, because, like, you know, mostly everyone dies except for Shogo and, oh god, I can't remember the heroine's name and the previous winner, but at least I think it was Shogo was the name of one of them. It's been a while since I read it. Yeah. But anyway, it was like, it's only 3 survivors, and 2 of them only survived because of the trickery of the previous year's winner to basically save the 2 of them in the end. And it ended up costing him his life trying to get them, you know, ferried off of the island. And so, like, the thing that foils that even in this small way that foils it is people coming together.
Yeah. Well, and it's also ignoring whether people or not think she copied or whatnot. Susan Collins, the Hunger Games trilogy as well brings in the same thing of the whole idea really of the Hunger Games. They say it's all this and that. There's definitely this whole thing of, oh, these were enacted, this is a societal duty, and it's all been agreed upon sort of collective punishment reminder. But the reality is what Katniss and the other characters discover when they arrive in the first district where it's all hosted is these people are all elite and upper class and are basically coming into these with privilege. They're the most likely to survive. This is really about culling through fear. Because, oh, your random sacrifice got here, but it's why it's a big deal when one of the bigger numbered, like 12 where Katniss is, like why they're winning, because it's also why she becomes iconic, because she's from one of the poorest districts. And it's basically, the whole idea there is the idea of the select few at the heart of the capital who are controlling everything because they have the money and power. That's all they have. they really have is the money and maybe the resources, but the power is in the people. And a couple soldiers with guns against a mob, people will die, but that mob will still overrun.
Also,
Yeah.
the other thing it reminded me of as well, talking about like not seeing people as people, and I mean, given the way the movie works, it's a little not as one-to-one, but coming off of editing our most recent episode that's going up, Liz, it reminds me of the Flesh Fair. That circus of destruction and mutilation of taking all these, like, at least semi-sentient androids and just murderizing them in these horrific, brutal ways. And the only thing that gets the whole thing to stop, at least for that night, is when there's a believable enough looking little boy robot that the public thinks they're going to kill an actual human being. They don't even think of him as a robot. They think he's a real boy. God, I don't like using that term in this case, but yeah. They think he's a human boy.
Yeah, but it's only in confronting the idea that, oh, this might be a human child.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been rewatching Battlestar Galactica, and in the early seasons especially, is a big critical part of it, of, then they bring up repeatedly of, I just rewatched the portions of the story where Carl Agathon and Sharon finally make it back to the fleet with Starbuck and everything, and Sharon looks at Carl and she's like, they don't see me as human. The other me, because this is also not long after the other Sharon, the one, the show starts to define as being Boomer, has been shot and killed, and the engineer who shot and killed her, what does she get for basically walking up and coldly murdering somebody in front of an entire crowd of people? What does this young woman get? She gets 30 days in the brig. And then she's released back to duty like nothing happened. Her crewmates are celebrating her. They're congratulating her. They're acting like it's a whole big deal. And the more I watch the show, the more to me, there is an element of you as the viewer are really meant to be disgusted, like, by the fact that Callie, not only did Callie so brazenly commit this murder, but that she's not actually held accountable for it because they don't see it as murder. They see it as, she killed a Cylon. She killed a toaster. This person's not human. And it takes Sharon and Hilo getting back to basically go, that's fucked up.
I mean...
And it takes people actually being confronted with the fact of, but I feel this way about them, about this Cylon, but I didn't know they were a Cylon. And it forces them to confront the feelings, is just because this person maybe at the deepest level isn't actually the same type of biological human they are, but does that make them any less of a person? Basically personhood.
Like, to bring this into like historic context too, and it's like, it's so easy, I think, for a lot of audiences to kind of watch these things, digest them a little bit, and then kind of pass them off as, oh, it's fiction, oh, it's science fiction, it's fantasy. But the reality is, what we're doing when we tell these stories is we're telling versions of our own histories from around the world. Because, like, America, back in the 90s, what comes to mind is the murder of Matthew Shepard, for example. Going back even further, you have, I mean, to be blunt, the history of lynchings in the American South. And, like, when we talk about, like, in Battlestar Galactica, this person only got 30 days in the brig for murdering someone because the person they murdered wasn't seen as a human. It's like,
yeah,
there used to be fucking picnics when they lynched black folks.
How quickly they turn on them. Of somebody's a Cylon, it's an immediate, especially in the earlier seasons before all sorts of other drama unfolds, and it becomes much more complicated maybe for the people, but at the beginning they're very much like, as soon as they find out somebody's a Cylon, it's like, drop everything, they're horrible.
Yeah.
drop everything, no humanity. It's a shocker when the president first sees Sharon emerge and realizes, and sees this, who she already knows now this is a Cylon, or this particular individual, if I see them, it's a Cylon. It's this model Cylon. First time she sees Sharon, she goes, yeah, Sharon's like, they're all kind of like, okay, everybody put down your guns, agree, nobody's getting hurt, nobody's this, because Lee's all like, oh my gosh, Sharon, I want to kill her because she shot my dad, blah, blah, blah. I know I'm throwing out a lot of like contextually specific stuff. And the president goes, no one's getting hurt, you'll be fine, you'll be fine, you'll be fine. And then on a dime, as soon as everybody lowers their guns, the president turns and goes, throw that thing out the airlock. And it's so... Oh, it speaks to such a deep-rooted xenophobia, too. A deeply rooted bias that anything that is not as my worldview defines is one thing does not count.
And, like, it's such a deeply human thing. Like, humans are capable of such great good, but also such great evil. So it's like... It happens all around the world. Another example that comes to mind, I forget what year it was, but there was a massacre of Koreans back after the Great Kanto quake in Japan because a rumor had started spreading that Korean immigrants had been stealing food or some such, and like this crowd of people just found a group of Koreans and just slaughtered them over a rumor, basically.
Yeah. Well, and we've seen it repeated over and over, even with legislation against Asian Americans in the U.S., internment camps, prejudice against it. We saw against African Americans, against, kind of anybody who didn't fit this sort of white ideal.
Yeah.
Of human and is deserving. We saw it during COVID too. We saw these same, frankly, xenophobic and fear-based prejudices come out during COVID too. I mean, a rise in crime against Asian Americans was a very real thing because people were just like, and it was very like, what the fuck, people?
Like the shit going on right now across the country, like for some fucking reason, the right set its eyes right now on Somali immigrants. And doing the same thing to them now. Harassing them, terrorizing them, and so on. It's a thing we have to, as people, escape from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's such a thing we see in dystopians. Or not push, but dystopians really frame around. And I think it's kind of a core. What do you all think of the idea of dystopian is largely rooted in social structure? Like, dystopia is very much referring to, like I was thinking about this on earlier today in reference to post-apocalyptic versus dystopian. And I found myself going through as I'm like, oh, would maybe that, when I was thinking about this episode, I was like, oh, maybe that's something. And then I thought about it and I'm like, no, that's post-apocalypse, but that's not dystopian. That is like circumstances outside of social structure that impact people. But what becomes dystopian is how the people then respond if they build that structure on the backs of other humans. It got me thinking about there being an idea of one being nested within the other. Like, you can have post-apocalypse and you can have dystopian stories together, and like you can have a story be those things, but they can exist separately, because dystopian to me is also, it's about the social element of a story. And I'm curious.
I'd agree.
I'd agree. I mean, there's definitely a social element, because it's a big part of Topias, this or you, is society and how society interacts. To bring it back to Dungeon Crawler Carl, as an example, is that the society, they are very much like, it's weird. It reminds me a bit of like 90s entertainment, where people are, or even like the 2010s, reality TV.
Oh yeah.
Ooh,
it's very reality TV. because even in Carl, the universe who is watching is able to watch different players, right? And you as the player, the crawler, get more and more opportunities the more people that are watching you. If people are bored of you, they will switch away from you. So it incentivizes you to do wild and crazy bullshit. So that way people will watch you, and in turn you get more goodies, you get more opportunities, and in turn, like it feeds the beast, so to speak. But people get to vote on things. Like if you get a prize, people get to vote on what you get. And there are trolls, obviously, who will vote for some bullshit. And people who are not trolls, who are like fans, who will vote for some like good stuff, things like that. And you get sponsorships, you get, fans who buy your merch, like all sorts of like crazy bullshit. And it's forged from the society. The society practically literally in the case of every world that is newly forced into this, it is paved onto your society. And even though you run into others from your world who may have different cultures or something like that, you're still having to deal with this outside force that is pushing its culture and stances and society onto you to make you dance for it, so that they can make a quick buck.
Yeah.
Hello, imperialism.
I can't believe I keep thinking of it, but that makes me think of South Park again, when the boys get taken up in the spaceship and the aliens on the spaceship go, oh yeah, and they're like, wait, is this a TV network? And the aliens are like, oh yeah, Planet Earth. It's the show. It's like the top reality show. Yeah, it's being canceled, but it's the top reality show. But they literally tell the boys, they're like, yeah, we took all these different species, dolphins, humans, literally stuck them all on one planet to see what would happen and call it entertainment. And the boys at one point go, wait, so we're not all supposed to be coexisting together? Manufactured drama. That, the aliens are like, it's for ratings, it's for this, and and then
I forget, what is
like, but now you all know, so the illusion's gone, so
that's right, that's why they're gonna cancel it, okay. I was about to ask
because
that.
Earth realizes that they're just a TV show for entertainment for some other alien race. And so they then
start hamming it up because they think that's gonna make it even more interesting or something, right?
Yeah, something like that.
It lost the verite.
Well, and they have blackmail photos of executives.
The aliens. The alien executives getting sexual favors, and they use that to blackmail them to keep the show on the air.
For these weird things sucking on each other's shoulders, chef.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But I mean, it's that thing. It's this whole of, wait, all of this is just because it's entertaining to these others. Our suffering, all of our problems is because y'all thought this would be fun to watch. And I mean, it's literally the nature of reality TV. It's what they're poking at too, of like, we watch these things, but also, even going into reality TV where, we've seen interviews. I remember this young woman, when I was in university, came and spoke to a group that I was with about her experience on some reality show, and she was really largely disappointing as a speaker, honestly. But the one thing that I did take away was her saying, yeah, I was kind of framed as the bad guy, but none of that unfolded the way it actually unfolded that way, because there's actually a lot of scripted scenes that take place on reality TV, or even if it's not scripted, they're going to do things to push things further. They want drama. They want to create circumstances. I don't necessarily, it's worth watching for the reality check of understanding how dangerous reality TV is. I watched the docuseries about America's Next Top Model, which was a show I really didn't watch at all as a kid. one, my mom was still kind of like, you know what, like, not, my mom hated reality TV. Our whole family kind of hated reality TV. We're all like, this is stupid.
This is
you
the
know,
sensible
like, we
path.
fell in love with exactly. We all fell in love with Great British Bake Off, but that's because we watched it and went, this is so wholesome.
Yeah, Noel's amazing.
Exactly.
And also,
but
that's kind of like more like
model.
a game show than a reality show, too.
Well, and there's a key thing there that is a whole other topic of conversation. I will only hint at that it's because I don't see it in American shows, is that the incentive to win is just the joy and the pride that comes with winning. It is not a monetary incentive to win. And that is a critical element that I think separates it from any other game show or reality show in America. But side note, that's a whole different thing.
No taking home the home game.
I mean, but watching the docuseries about America's Next Top Model, it is heinous. The things that were allowed to take place to make entertainment happen, and frankly disgusting the way the producers, the way Tyra will diplomatically says, well, if I'd known, I'd have done something. And even in the whole docuseries, you sort of get the idea of, if you really didn't know, then you were really tone deaf.
She's
like,
a real
I'll allow
piece
that you
of
didn't
shit.
know. Yeah, that just, you're so focused on you that you really didn't notice that. Wow, you're extremely tone deaf, or you knew and now you're playing I didn't know. I mean, one of the women who was wronged on it, literally, like, they go back to her after Tyra says, I didn't know, and I'm so sorry it happened, and she's like, that's bullshit. It's like, yeah, I don't blame you for that, because frankly, fool me once, fool me twice, fool me thrice, Tyra. If it happened once and you said I didn't know and apologized and actually corrected it, that'd be one thing. But this shit keeps happening, and seeing people reacting who've gone back and, like, we didn't grow up the show, watching it now, being like, the fuck? Did somebody just get essayed on screen?
Jesus.
Did the producers not say, let's stop the cameras because this girl is drunk in a hot tub with a bunch of guys? Maybe we need to stop being reality TV and ratings focused here for a moment. Let's step in and actually stop this. Because this is a young woman who's drunk in a hot tub with a bunch of other people, including men, who are coming onto her. This is bad, and it's... again, I didn't watch it growing up, but watching this, it's just like, how was this allowed to go on as long as it was? Because this is heinous. This is people's lives being affected for the sake of the profits of a few, the monetary profits of a select few, because these models, even the ones who won, didn't necessarily go on to have big, massive modeling careers. One of them became a real estate agent. Yeah. Like, it actually became a black mark on their resumes in the modeling industry to come from America's Next Top Model. Yeah. It actually hurt them career-wise, more so.
It didn't hurt Tyra, though.
No, and that's why I say monetarily profitable to a very small few.
Fuck you,
and
Tyra.
Then entertainment to the masses. But all this came at the expense of individuals who were there for genuine reasons, like wanting to pursue modeling, wanting to succeed, wanting to have that career. And again, they didn't even get that. It's not like so many of them came away with that going, I was too messed up after it, or I couldn't get jobs. I wasn't getting jobs. This actually was hindering my ability to get jobs. It's like, oh, so this actually did nothing for you, and for a lot of you had a negative effect.
Yeah.
So
fuck you, Tyra.
Yeah.
If you ever hear this, Tyra Banks, you owe so many people more than an apology, and there's nothing that you can do in this lifetime or in the next that would cure
Stop making
and alleviate
excuses.
all the harm you've done.
Yeah, stop making excuses and saying you didn't know. You were a shitty person. Acknowledge that and actually be better.
Fuck you, Tyra. So, dystopians, where were we?
Dystopians. Going back to dystopians, and again,
what we were saying before, to what degree do y'all think, like, it's what we've talked about before, where, like, class issues resolve in such a way that the upper class don't see the lower class as people in this case? Tyra Banks is worth a fortune, and these contestants, they're coming and going. They are the fodder for the show.
Mm-hmm. And when
Yeah.
you
Like
consider that
Tyra,
show
the
was on the
producers,
air
et cetera,
for, I
et
think,
cetera.
like 20 seasons.
Yeah.
I think that show had like 20 some odd seasons, so that's right there.
Yeah.
That is no small amount.
Yeah. It's way too many.
Yeah. And to me, that show, it gets particularly disgusting when you consider how invasive some of the challenges are. Because the whole idea was, oh, well, this is the way the industry is. You've got to be willing to do this as a model. And it's like,
Oh God.
oh, no. We stop. When somebody's excuse is this is how the industry is, that's the problem with Diddy. Too. He created this era of the only way you make it in the industry is by turning a blind eye to all the bullshit I'm doing, which is how you end up with people who are just there to get their break into it, being in the next room over and being like, wait, did somebody just get shot? And why is Diddy coming out of the bathroom with another guy? And not the third guy who went in with him.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, they killed somebody. And it's heartbreaking hearing in the interview afterwards this guy saying, years later being like, at the time, I thought this was the only way I made it, was to not say anything. And I'm like, again, it's a select few with power.
Yeah.
Who are dictating the rules.
Well,
Interesting little
Mhm.
interesting little just quick side note on that.
Yeah.
For anybody who's interested, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson has made a documentary on Netflix all about Diddy, and let me tell you, this dude fucking hates Diddy.
That's what I'm getting all of this info from too.
You will never see so much baby oil in your life until you've seen that documentary.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And
please.
I will add on to that that's where my information on Diddy comes from. I never finished. I will caution people though that there are a couple episodes that get really heavy. I warn you now. There are some content warnings for some episodes where you see security footage of abuse.
Yeah.
Of partner abuse. And Diddy's the wrongdoer, and that bit of security footage. So if you're sensitive at all, just content warnings for people of approach with care, because the more you listen, the more disgusted you become with Diddy.
And one thing that's reminded me of, not on the same tier as someone who, like, the thing you were talking about with the things you do to stay in an industry. And people make excuses like, oh, that's how the industry is. Like, you both probably remember me ranting about this from time to time over the years, especially when we were doing more indie film production stuff. And the thing that, heavily burned me out on film production as a path forward was the fact that it is such an exploitative and abusive industry if you're below the line. Where, you would hear, obviously a lot of people know, oh, there's a lot of hours worked in the film industry, but it's easy to take for granted that, you're on set, you can be on set for, 16 hours a day. And the culture of it all is very much, well, if you can't hack it, you don't deserve to be here. And in a way, it's a dystopian quality in that way, because it's conditioned people to not value themselves as they should. They only view themselves as kind of this chauvinistic machismo of, well, I can hack it. Yeah, you're hacking it, but how much of your life are you sacrificing to this thing? And what are the actual returns you're getting out of it? And what's being taken from you by those above you to fuel this entire endeavor?
It has literally gotten people killed.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and it's circling right back to what we mentioned at the very, very beginning about how you have these attitudes with people of, the attitudes I was mentioning of the people who are like, why should we have student debt relief? I had to pay my student loans. Why should these kids not have to pay their student loans off? And it's again
the system's fucking broken, man.
I got it. I worked it, and it's a refusal to acknowledge that the system is broken and needs repair, and a refusal to reflect on what it took for you to get to where you are, and was that okay? Like, you can be proud of surviving that
But you
and making it
survived
through
it.
and what you accomplished it. But you can do that while still acknowledging the system can be better.
Exactly.
And that leads me to asking a very, maybe it's not really a question, maybe it is, but it has occurred to me with all this thinking about dystopians, because over the past years, especially more and more, are we living in a dystopia?
Oh, we've lived. I mean,
Yeah.
congratulations, you found my diatribe switch. I mean, let us be blunt. The history of this country, all three of us are in the United States. The history of this country is a dystopia. A bunch of European settlers came over here, genocided the indigenous population to the point that only a relative scant few remain on, and a lot of them are concentrated in reservations that are only a fraction of the areas, the land in which they used to live. And even some of those
Not to mention
reservations
our
aren't even gutted economically, aren't even the lands they used to live on, because we just fucking moved them by force, by death. Like the fucking Trail of Tears. And then, the whole thing was supported with two... Actually, no, let's be blunt here. Like, about 200 years of chattel slavery, and then nearly another 100 years after that of apartheid against black people. And then on top of that, like, I rail on this a bunch, talking about, like, where the first immigration restrictions in this country came from. Like, Chinese immigrants came here because of the opportunities that existed with building the Transcontinental Railroad. That railroad would not be complete without their efforts. And what happened...
To actually point out...
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, to actually point out, too, because I remember this coming up in my World Civ class in high school, the speculation, there's no distinct proof, but the speculation based off the technology and the capabilities that actually the very first non-indigenous, the very first people to land on the American continent, like our North American continent, were not actually Europeans.
Yeah.
They were actually from Asia.
Yeah,
because
crossing
proximity and because technological proficiency on the sea.
Yeah, it's like crossing up. Oh God, what was it? Like between Russia and Alaska, the Bering Sea. I believe that was the crossover point.
Yeah,
and
but
so
there's actually been speculation that actually like the first non-native boat to land on American shores.
Oh, okay. I think I follow what you're saying now.
Yeah, that predated America actually came from, I want to say, either China or Japan is the speculation. Now, this is something that's never been confirmed, but I remember in my World Civ classes, especially sophomore year, where our World Civ teachers, and this was to do with AP World Civ, taught from a very globalist perspective. They made it very clear that we are not teaching you world history from the perspective of America is the center of the universe.
Yeah.
Because we're not. America and Europe are not the center of the universe. They are not the center of the world. That is a bad perspective to teach. We are going to teach you globally.
Yeah.
Global perspective. And there was speculation that there may have been a boat from China or Japan that actually landed on the West Coast before the Americas were officially discovered by Europeans. Yeah, again, not confirmed, but there's some evidence that suggests it was possible. And frankly, I'm inclined to believe it.
And it's like...
So
to the point, then, it's like, we are definitely dystopia. Like, our bright shining moment of maybe finally having the equal society in our grasp is basically a brief 60-year window of this entire project, dating back from the colonial days to now. And as we can see right now, there is a full-throated war against that by the right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I will be blunt. It is very clear, like, especially with the things that have been happening in the news in the past couple of months, I would say the intention is to drag us back to the antebellum. I think that is the ultimate end goal of this, is,
Yeah.
like, in a
Yeah.
way, the Confederacy did not lose, like, especially when you look at the way, like, Reconstruction turned out and how rapidly Jim Crow was instituted. Like, they lost the
Hmm.
battles and then they immediately won the culture war through white nationalist terrorism.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So
it's
we live in a
I
dystopia.
will add, yeah, which adds an element to looking at dystopian stories now, of seeing much more,
Hmm.
seeing the world now and as it's been. Like,
Hmm.
tell me if you guys have had this. Like, have you noticed, like, when compared to when you were younger,
Hmm.
compared to now, have you found certain stories that when you were younger you understood they were dystopia, but it still was a story? Have you found, going back to them, that they now land very differently in light of, say, like the last 10 years? Because now it's basically, because now it's relevant.
I mean,
It's not just a story, it's you're seeing it.
I'd say, like, Battle Royale falls into that, understanding the nature of fascist society more and more, and especially, like,
Mm-hmm.
the way, like, like counterculture can still exist within, like, within the underground of a fascist society. Um, Maybe a stronger point, going back to 1984. I didn't read it as a kid. I read it as an adult, taking a class with a professor we know, fellow professor of Dave's, Ashanti Luke, uh,
Mm-hmm.
for a science fiction literature course, and
Mm-hmm.
seeing the way that Orwell articulates the function of Oceania as a political and cultural system. Like, it's very clear he is modeling it after what he views it as the systems of Stalinism, but at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, I think there's a very clear fascist overtone, and I imagine if push came to shove, that Orwell would have probably said there was a little difference between Stalinism and fascism in the way they
Ultimately,
Yeah.
operate.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
the
I mean,
thing
they're both
that
focused on a single tyrant and dictator at the top dictating this, and so there ends up being a lot more parallels,
a lot more parallels, and
you know.
also, like, the like, the thing that comes to mind is the famous quote from the end of the book where O'Brien is torturing Winston, and all imagine the future. I'm messing it up because I'm not looking at it directly right now, but if you want to know what the future looks like, imagine a boot stomping on a face forever and ever,
Yeah.
and forever it will be there. And what O'Brien describes is, like, the face is always going to be this underclass that we deliberately pick out because our system requires an underclass to be stepped upon, to be rallied against, for the people to, like, at one point, like, he says they will abolish the orgasm. It will no longer be needed because they will find other ways to produce new people. There will be no joy in the world except for the joy of power over another. And that is ultimately what I think a dystopia is ultimately about. Is it
Mm-hmm.
is when a segment of society has decided that the way society must work is that one group must have power over another and must exercise that power brutally against
Yeah.
them.
Mhm.
And so is that's what you're kind of just going back to the question I'd asked of, like, in terms
Hmm.
of where you started with digesting the story versus
Exactly.
how it's hitting you now. Yeah.
And I can see, like,
Make sure I'm following
yeah,
that. So,
it's like, and it's present in, I think, everything, but it's so easy to get, I think, in a lot of ways, as you're younger, and I would say even as an adult, because literacy rates, literacy ain't just being able to read. Literacy is understanding what you are reading on
There's
a
being able to
critical
read,
level.
and then there's being able to comprehend and critically
Exactly.
think.
And a lot of, and
yeah.
even as adults, a lot of folks are not literate in the ways they should be. So as a child, and for, I'll be blunt, as a literate adults, it's easy to parse these things as, oh, it's the bad evil guys, and not really understand what it is that makes it all tick. To understand
Yeah.
that these are not just individual evils, that it's not just one single individual bad man, that it is a system that binds us in suffering and the elation of power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
I couldn't have said it better.
Dave, to my earlier question, I'm curious for you if you found you've had any stories that you digested when you were younger that are now hitting differently in light of kind of, frankly, how more aware as we all get older, as we become more aware of the nuances of the world. Do they hit differently now, given the state of things?
I didn't really read dystopias when I was young. I always read
You
like
might have watched her.
I always read like
Okay.
lighter stuff. As
Yeah.
far as watched, again, like I could point to things like RoboCop.
Oh,
Uh,
that's definitely
I could point-
counts. Yeah.
I could point
Yeah.
to Animal Farm, the classic animated one, not the one that we got recently from Andy Serkis,
God, that fucking thing.
which completely misses the point, Andy.
Don't
worried
trust
about
something
that,
from
Andy.
Angel Studios is all I gotta say.
Well, they actually picked that up after.
Oh no, I
they
know.
weren't
I'm
involved-
just saying, if Angel Studios is interested in you, you might want to rethink about what you just did.
Yeah. Don't
In other
buy.
words, that's not the bar we wanted to
To clear.
go with.
Yeah, respect yourself. Don't spend money on Angel Studios stuff.
Even blood orgies have a bar.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That bar is in
we
hell.
I mean,
Anyway.
we needed that levity.
Anyway, yeah, so like Animal Farm and RoboCop, I don't think I understood those as a kid. Animal Farm, I understood something bad was happening, but I didn't quite understand like the gravity of everything going on. And RoboCop, I was like, this is fun action. And you know, being an adult now, seeing a lot of the things that I've seen with those.
Dave, what is your if I can press you on RoboCop for a bit?
Yeah.
That last shot, like, what you're thinking when, or what do you think we're supposed to take away critically when he asks Murphy his name and Murphy says Murphy? And like, you know, the helmet's gone, we see his face, he's still clad in all that armor, but what he's still doing is responding essentially to the beck and call of the people who are still his corporate masters. It's like,
That's tough.
like it is tough, because it's like, it's this weird mix, like he's taking back his humanity a bit, but he's still operating within this system that will continue to dehumanize him.
So, okay. So, I think it's hopeful in the sense that he is no longer a slave in the way that he was. He is allowed his autonomy in the sense of he's allowed to know his name, to recognize his name, to know and recognize his memories.
Oh, there's a parallel that's occurred to me there, and
certain little bits like that. That doesn't mean that he is free.
Yeah, because I was.
It may mean that he thinks he's free in the sense of he's able to have a name, He's able to have his face. He's able to have the memories of his family, whether they're still alive or not. But it doesn't mean that he is free from the system. In fact, I would argue that being given that little nugget of freedom that he perceives enslaves him deeper.
Is it? Do you think? I mean, I have to at least get this thought out of my head. Like, it's reminding me of the dynamic that you read about and hear about in stories of chattel slavery of house slaves. He's gotten this bit more privilege than the other slaves get, but he's still, at the end of the day, enslaved to them, to his masters.
So is it really actually gaining privilege, or is it just the prison, or is it just we redecorated your cell?
Yeah. And
So
You got a cell with a slightly bigger window.
I mean,
in it.
and also he's still an enforcer of the system. He's still RoboCop.
And that's where I want to push a little bit back is I can understand where you're coming from insofar as like the angle of him and the cops being slaves, because in a sense they are under corporations, rather than like a government. However, I worry that alleviates the propaganda aspect of it, which I think is still fully, we're cops, we're here and we're going to kick ass, because that's kind of how propaganda works. And propaganda, I know that it's usually propaganda is either modern day or it's sci-fi. And
you see it very distinctly portrayed in either of those two lenses. Yeah.
And it's really hard to make a show or a movie or some other media that is focused on cops that is either negative to cops, as in like even cops will be like, this is antithetical to us, or is able to be free of any kind of positive spin for cops. If you look at like various things like anything Dick Wolf made, or
the Law and Orders,
or RoboCop, or even Veronica Mars, which comes relatively close to being critiquing of cops, but it's still propaganda in a variety of senses.
I mean, pretty much all your crime procedurals out there are, even your CSIs, your Criminal Minds.
Like Psych, as silly and fun as it is, like Lassiter is still meant to be a lovable, funny character, despite the fact that like he's a walking lawsuit waiting to happen regarding abuse of power.
I mean,
and like
he's like
kind of blatantly a fascist.
It's such in regards to propaganda that like you'll have things where real cops will do stuff like they'll play songs that are meant to be antithetical to cops, like they'll be running around and they'll be rocking KRS-One's Sound of the Police at high volume, because they're using it as a cudgel to say, you have this anthem, but guess what? We can still fuck you up and take your shit and kill you.
How many of them have adopted the Punisher skull, despite the fact that, like, right out in the comics, the Punisher's like, you're not supposed to fucking be me.
Yeah, like when you actually pay attention to the character. Yeah, when you actually pay attention to the character in the Punisher, it's like, all you cops and far right wingers who are very, very pro cops are adopting a symbol without understanding what it actually means. It's like, ugh! Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned the challenge too, Dave, of shows we see to actually kind of basically say anything about it. And it's funny because you got me thinking of a show my folks have watched a lot, and I've watched some of it when I would stay with them. Is they enjoyed the show. They enjoy, and I've enjoyed just in terms of watching it, enjoyed the show SWAT. Now, I take all of these shows with a grain of salt because one, it's also like, y'all, these guys all are taking liberties with how things go, whatnot. I mean, if you don't watch Chicago Fire, if you want to see how actual firemen work, I've actually seen a thing where if one guy who is a fireman critiques how those shows handle situations, and it's really funny to watch him be like, that's not how that works, y'all. But SWAT was one of the shows that surprised me. Because, frankly, it's still pretty much in propaganda. I mean, it's a SWAT team in Los Angeles. Constant this and that. And I'm like, yeah, how often do you actually hear about SWAT going out and doing things? One. But it tries, I will give it credit that it tries to take some level of nuance in certain areas, such as one sub-storyline that I watched like an episode or two of, where a character is having beers with fellow other cops, and one of them starts dropping very white nationalist, pro-white, discriminating, racist things, and the guy is like, do I report him? Do I not? And so it's one of those things that I remember talking to my folks afterwards, and I went, it's nice to see a cop show have cop characters acknowledge that this is bad, because ultimately he does report the other guy, and there's fallout and all of this, everything from it. But it's like, okay, he actually did, kind of like, there's an effort to try. Am I saying that it's good at that? Well, at the end of the day, it is still a show about a cop team. So it still kind of falls into the same rhythms that cops show do. Does it try to be more nuanced? I think it does. And I think some of that has to do with Shamar Moore being like kind of the lead in it too. I don't know how active he was as a producer, but him being heavily involved, and he's kind of the central team leader. I think that is a mark of influence of him. I mean, he also comes from Criminal Minds, veteran of Criminal Minds and everything. So there's an effort, but it's really, it's something that's very, the number of times of you watch cop shows and you just want to be like, oh, that's a nice fanciful image of police. That's a nice fantasy that if only everybody was like that.
Even
if only the system was like that, because it's sort of like, I mean, heck, I look at Resident Evil when Leon being like, I'm here to do this, and I'm like, oh, you were such a dreamer, Leon, poor baby.
Well, one thing that comes to mind,
and instead he showed up and everyone was dead, but that's a whole different thing.
Like, and we could spend a whole other episode, like, even not speaking any specific genre about this tendency, is the power of narrative. Is so many people get their conception, like, it's called propaganda for a reason. So many people get their conception of what police life is like, not from actual lived experience of cops, but from these dramas that, they're dramas. They're meant to, thrill and suspend and make you laugh and cry and so on and so forth. And it's like, it's not real life. These aren't real people, but yet the power of narrative is so strong that these are the narratives people consume, and thus, even without intending to, it's what inform their belief about the world.
Well, look at how long has at any point is a Law and Order been on the air? Like, if you just culminate all the Law and Order shows together, it's been, Law and Order has been in the air now longer than, like, I've been alive. I mean, and basically, because that's putting it in like 40 some odd years.
The true crime boom genre, which also falls into this as well.
Well, and then, frankly, CSI gave it another boom, by bringing in the let's be forensics. But let's be real, there's also the hilarity of, when you actually talk to forensics people, and it's like, we don't actually do that part. Yeah. That part is the cops. We're the people in the labs. Like, I watch CSI Miami almost more for the hilarity of being like, oh, look, the chemist now has a gun and is running around the city chasing people down. This chemist has a lot of time, apparently, to do all of this bullshit.
And, like, that's even before you get into the fact that, like, when you talk with scientific experts about forensic science, you learn that a lot of things that we count on forensic science on are kind of bunk.
Or things like fingerprints can't be done in 6 minutes. It
Yeah.
can take 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
To run things through, run it through the system. Yeah, and I think there's an element, well, you usually say propaganda also of, think of the surge in applications to forensic science departments in universities and forensic science degrees that took place. And I say this as my college roommate was a double major chemistry and forensic science.
Hey, Liz, what did you do after you saw Jurassic Park?
Oh, I already wanted to be a paleontologist, excuse me. I wanted to be a paleontologist before I saw Jurassic Park.
Okay.
That being said, as you talk about social influence, there was, and I have this, I wanted to, I was 6, when I wanted to be a paleontologist when I was 6. I hadn't seen Jurassic Park, but I knew I wanted to be one. My dad and my boss, who both obviously were already adults then too, were adults and just slightly younger adults then, they both remember the surge in knowing about the surge in interest in paleontology departments at universities as a result of Jurassic Park. We see that happen. We saw it and I've cited CSI's influence on forensic sciences as well to it, of a media impacting basically academia, because it entices, it makes it attractive. I mean, let's be real. All of these crime shows we talk about make it look attractive to be in law enforcement.
Yeah.
Because they're meant to. Because, what good is a show if everybody hates the protagonist and thinks they're an asshole?
Yeah.
I mean,
also, Dave had a point too that I think we kind of sideswiped a few times.
I'm sorry, we got so sidetracked from there. Yeah,
T-boning him from one end.
We're
of
talking about
the street to the
propaganda
other.
and dystopias.
but I will say, Dick Wolf, one of the reasons that he's able to produce such good shows is he has a relationship with all the cop departments, and they give him anything he wants because he writes them so lovingly.
Same with the
of course they
U.S.
are.
military, and
Yeah.
if you want real U.S. military shit in your movie, guess what? You gotta pay the toll.
They have a department for film in the U.S. military. And I know that because, well, my family's done military stuff for, I don't know how many years, like half my family's been in the military. And, we hear about these things, and, obviously us being in film, we get to see little bits and stuff like that because we explore, and we find out that big portions of budget get covered by the military because it's there to support the military and to boost recruiting numbers.
Talk about Dystopia.
Is a prime example.
I'm literally 2 blocks from a Marines recruiting center.
Yeah.
And in fact, during the summer, so I realized it last summer, they do some kind of training program where I believe where they have basically new recruits and are doing fitness. I have encountered that group on multiple occasions, and you spot them because they're all wearing the exact same shirts, and then you realize they all say Marines on it. They all look like they're maybe barely or fresh out of high school, but it is some form of recruitment training, enrichment program, whatever, that is run, I'm fairly certain, out of the Marine Center. And I may have also been feeling a judgmental when they were doing circuit line drills one day, because I want to be like, my vaulters did those. I gave them to it, and they could do it better. And they were 10. So I may have felt a little bit judgmental going by, seeing them be like, because to me it did not come off as what I would expect of Marines. It was kind of like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But that aside.
But yeah, and they use these things to recruit. And they don't directly say that, but they certainly do things like putting on a show and all that. They have recruiters go to the theater to sit outside. So that way when young 17, 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds come out of the theater going, wow, that was awesome. I want to do that. You can sign right up right there.
I mean, it's an aspiration, it's that, I mean, frankly, I'm going to point out another field that benefits a lot from television and film: medicine.
Yeah.
ER was a critical show for a lot of people, like was a very inspirational show for a lot of people back in its heyday when it first started, for people becoming doctors. Fast forward now to The Pit, and part of why, for me, I've seen that legacy sort of in fruition more, is people, other doctors, like now years in practicing doctors, saying openly, like to Noah Wyle himself, of "You're the reason I became a doctor." And The Pit has tons of medical advising going on in that show. They do a shit ton of work to be as accurate as they can be. They do a lot. Now, what I will say that they do that is different from them versus all the others that kind of are, as you say, the propaganda, the pro-military. The Pit is, I think, is the showing that it is possible, but you needs to be coming with people with the right attitude. Because The Pit shows the hard work, the effort, and the genuine care that goes in. But it does not shy away from showing how broken the system is and how broken the attitudes are, including the people running the system, without necessarily saying these are all bad people, but this system is fucked up. Like and maybe it's the nature of it being medicine, that it's easier to tell that kind of a story with medicine. And of course, it's a huge impact of the people who are behind the writing of these stories, who are wanting to advocate for for these fields, for emergency medicine, for doctors, for nurses. But it's, it also is I'm sure those writing rooms are frankly very interesting, because it's a difficult line to basically create entertainment where you're showing these people who are objectively the heroes of your show, but you're also showing how flawed they are, how flawed the system around them is, how they know the system is flawed, yet they're still there putting in the work. It's part of why it's being praised as being such a compelling medical show now.
If I can add one more to the dystopia pile, it's a light dystopia because of how much it tries to be in our real world, despite being like it's the 10 minutes into the future style sci-fi. The Patlabor franchise, particularly the films that co-creator Mamoru Oshii directed, and I think it's a fascinating way of engaging with something like you could say there are propaganda aspects about it, but the team at Headgear and Oshii, they don't make it a gilded image of the police, especially in Patlabor 2, the movie, which is very much, I would best characterize this as Oshii kind of at war with himself ideologically through these concepts and characters, where it is dealing heavily with the hypocrisy of what society is built upon, because the antagonist in that film is a JGSDF, Japanese Ground Self-Defense Force member, who was deployed in a South Asian country and was the only survivor of his unit because he was not allowed to fire back when his unit came under assault. This ties heavily into real life incidents with Japan having the SDF deployed with UN troops as well. And what Oshii kind of uses these factions and ideas here is to interrogate the way society, to get back to O'Malus in a way, this peaceful, utopian-seeming peaceful society is itself built on violence around the world. Japan may not be an empire anymore, either within the historic context of the real world as these films are being produced, or within the film's diegesis, but it is still heavily tied to imperial projects with America, for instance. And there's a line that they get into with that, where Goto, the captain of Section 2 of Special Vehicles Division 2, is talking with this intelligence officer with the Self-Defense Force, who's trying to help them bring in the terrorists I mentioned before. It's like, what they talk about is, our economic prosperity is based on the man created by those countless wars. Its hands are covered in blood. That's the stuff our peace is made of. By the way, and as they were saying this, you can see industry in the background, refineries in the background, very clearly pointing out, like, just what is it that our society is built on here? An unabashed lust for peace based on an unmitigated terror of war. And I think that's the key to kind of being able to tell these stories, is that, or to tell them without turning into propaganda of some kind or another that defends the abusive systems, is that you have to be willing to smear your characters a bit. Like, there's a line from Goto as they're talking about this, and you can feel it in Oshi's mind as he's turning this back and forth himself. He's struggling with the contrast of, like, knowing what this piece is built on, and also knowing the horror that it might take to achieve actual justice. Is that I would take an unjust peace over a just war any day. And it's a little hard to sit with when you hear this character that, like, you followed in all these stories for so many years say that, but at the same time, it's like, you get it. Because it's like, none of us wants for our lives or others' lives to descend into the chaos and the brutality of war. But at the same time, there's the understanding that at some point the dam's gonna break. There's a running theme throughout the film, like, everyone is preparing for something they fear may come, which is a potential civil war. But they never mention what it is by name. They never invoke the term, because that would just... To invoke the term gives it the power that it may indeed exist, that its potential exists more real than you want it to be. And so I've kind of run out of fumes there now. It's like, it's just, it fascinates me, and it's ideas that I've been struggling with myself and am unable to escape the gravity of. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. But, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I think we're coming around to the conclusion of our conversation today. To that end, though,
mm-hmm.
I want to end us off with. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not going to say this is an intelligent question.
Mm-hmm.
It's a yes or no question for both of you.
Okay.
From each of you, I want your take on it.
Okay.
My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. Dystopia or utopia?
That's not a yes or no question.
Yes, it is. Just decide now.
There's a problem.
Knee-jerk answer.
I don't know. I've never watched the show.
Okay, adventure time for you.
Dystopia.
Okay.
I would say dystopia for My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic.
There you go. It's funny because my brain also kind of thought that too. But okay, that was.
I mean, the one thing I do know is technically existing under a monarchy, so there you go. There's dystopia right there.
It's not just a monarchy. It's like a very strong, like, hierarchical thing.
Oh no!
Yes.
God damn it! Look, I've only seen.
That's what you started to say. It's not. And I'm like, yes, it is.
I've only seen 2 seasons of this show.
Only seen 2 seasons.
And yes, the first 2. And the hierarchy that it has is you got Earth ponies, on the ground. They don't have horns. They don't have flight. They just have their core basic skills.
Oh no, are they the manual laborers?
Yes.
Oh god.
Well, there is
then
a certain
you have-
privilege to being a unicorn and a Pegasus pony.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Unicorns, the ones with horns, typically are more specialized in magic, which means that they usually are in much higher standing because they can access powers. And then those who fly.
This isn't just a hierarchy. This is a racial hierarchy, Dave.
Yeah.
One of the grounded ponies that doesn't have wings or horns is Applejack. She and her family run a farm.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And the Pegasi, they usually do things like deal with weather. But that's more or less what they do. So kind of specialized, kind of in between unicorns and earth ponies, I would say.
It's a bit of a caste system almost.
And then there is the rare ponies who have both wings and horns. And those are usually royalty. Queen Celestia, for example, being a prime one. And of course, the protagonist of the show, Twilight Sparkle, who starts off as just having a unicorn horn, also gets wings, apparently, in the future. How that happens, I don't know. But it's there, and that's what she gets.
Okay, so are you telling me that Transformers is a more progressive Hasbro property than My Little Pony?
Yeah.
I mean, My Little Pony, Twilight Sparkle's a Mary Sue. Twilight Sparkle is a Mary Sue. Here's our next discussion. You know what? My original question I was going to ask you, just to note, I originally was going to ask you. Fair enough. I was originally going to ask y'all if Event Horizon, Utopia or Dystopia, because you never actually see how society operates outside of that ship. You only know what you can gather from the way people on the ship talk, but the entire story otherwise takes place on the ship, only involving the crewmates. So it's like, are they coming from a Utopia or Dystopia side? But I thought it'd be funnier. We already had our blood orgy moment, so I'll.
Well, yeah. As we seem to be wrapping up, I started thinking about something last night. I still haven't seen Event Horizon. Should we make that content? Should we make my introduction into the blood orgy content?
Only if you would like to.
Only if you would like to.
Only if you'd like to.
It would definitely make it easier.
Hey, I get that. The only way I'm willing to watch The Grudge that I saw in high school ever again is going to be an in-person group viewing party where I can yell and bullshit and shit post and yell everything and giggle like a maniac the whole way through. I may not be quiet at all, but that's the only way it's happening.
We just need a heads up ahead of time so we can try and get a copy of the Wii game too for you to play afterwards.
It's only if you're lucky.
For a second there, I thought you were going to spit that soda out.
No. I'm not wasting my lavender soda.
Right.
Which now just makes me sound like some kind of weird hippie obsessive. Yes, it's lavender soda.
Right.
Fuck all you haters.
So with that declaration of fuck you haters, Liz, where can our Voidwalkers find you?
I was trying to swallow.
Well, instead of a spit take,
I know where some of y'all's minds went. Let's stop putting our minds in the gutter anymore. All right.
I'll be honest, I lost that train of thought, so I'm not even sure what the innuendo is now.
Don't worry about it.
Oh, trust me, there was plenty.
You'll
I knew it was happening as soon as I was saying it. Yeah, you'll hear it.
Holy shit, was it the thing I said? Holy shit.
Liz, where can our Voidwalkers find you?
Y'all can find me. I'm on Twitch, Lady Hyacinth 57. That is Lady Hyacinth, as in the flower, 57. On Twitch. I am also on YouTube under the same handle. I am going to be actually making some of my other past VODs live on YouTube eventually. I just haven't gotten there yet. But mostly on Twitch. I do a lot of Resident Evil. I love it. I may have had some friends over, by the way, recently, and I may have intentionally been playing Resident Evil right before they came because they were going to be a little bit late, and so I had everything set up and ready to go. So I was like, I'm going to put on Resident Evil, and I put on 4 because that's what I've been replaying. But then I was like, nah, I want them to walk into Dilf Leon, so I switched it over to Requiem, and managed and still had a file that was on his parts. So they came over, and then I went, by the way, ladies, pause. Look at this beautiful man. I may have done that.
Dean, stop writing the perfect man.
They may have totally agreed too. They were just like, damn! I'm like, yeah. Okay, but that aside, I play a lot of Resident Evil. I also play other horror games. I finished Silent Hill 2 for the first time recently.
Yay!
I've got a whole long fucking list of other horror games I need to play.
You've got a what long list?
On my stream. I said long list.
You said a word before long. There was a hole there. It's gone now.
Yeah, James fell in it. Come to my channel and you'll understand my weird, dumb shit humor. Dave, where can our Voidwalkers find you?
Dave or me? Dave, you go first.
I said Dave.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Voidwalkers. You can find me at twitch.tv/sheriff_Flynn. I'm hoping to get streaming going again. I've had some changes happen where I'm getting back into the gym again, which is great. And I think I'm cut out, but back behind me, there's a classical guitar. I'm going to start getting back into music a little bit because there's not enough music that is long enough, and there's not enough songs that are long enough to have things like movements and stuff in them. They're way too short, and we need to bring back movements back.
Yes.
So
you got guitar, I got my piano. Then that just means we have to find some way to like remotely duet at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be really fun, actually.
Actually, I need to pick up practicing again. But
if I can get myself, back into the swing of things with that, and get myself at a good pace, I want to pick up and go with things like electric guitar. I want to get into bass guitar, drums, like the whole shebang-a-bang. I think it'd be really cool.
Very nice.
So, other than that, I'm going to be working on my Irish a little bit and going to do some writing. So it's very busy. So I'm trying to get my schedule set in stone so that way I know how much space I have as far as time to stream. That is my aim and my goal. Also, I'm on YouTube, Sheriff Flynn, but I don't really post too much there. Every now and again, I might get a wild hair to where I'll upload something that I'm like, oh, this will be fun, and then just kind of leave it. But that's about it.
I think you and I both back up to YouTube a lot, and that's kind of our latest extent.
Yeah. E, where can our Voidwalkers find you?
All right. Well, you can find me both on Twitch and YouTube under the same account name, Lanzalencia, LANZALENTZIA, for y'all audio listeners. For the video folks, it's up on the screen right here. But when I haven't streamed in a couple weeks, just due to exhaustion and such nonsense. But when I do stream, that'll be on Twitch until I can figure out if there's a way for me to, stream to both at the same time. And the VODs go up archived onto YouTube, so they're not lost into the ether forever and ever. Over on the YouTube, you can also find assorted nonsense and bullshit that I put together in video editing. And also, I have been throwing up the marathon vids up on there when I've not been streaming marathon, but, if I have a successful run or an interesting run that fails miserably, I just tell the PlayStation, hey, record save the last 30 minutes of that and then just toss that onto YouTube. Boy, that thing
fails in an.
The bit rate
we say
is
fails
horrible
in a. I was gonna say you want to go with instead of fails miserably, would you say fails in an entertaining manner?
No, sometimes it's just a brutal curb stomp by a bunch of robots that shoot me dead in like 5 minutes worth of play.
But that might still be entertaining. I mean,
A little, maybe.
if you're throwing it up for people to
enjoy
watch.
sadism.
I mean, what do you think they're coming to my channel for?
Your bubbly personality and swearing? Whoa, what was that?
Also, how many times did I die?
That is true. That is true.
Yeah. I will say officially, my neighbor. I think I messaged you to.
Are we the
Voidwalkers
O'Malin
for your
child?
entertainment. My neighbor, one of my neighbors down the hall from me. I live in an old building. The walls are very thick, so I do not actually worry about people hearing me freak out and swear and yell at my computer at all, which is wonderful. It's a wonderful perk to be in a building old enough where the walls actually block sound. Where the sound is not blocked is by the front door of any of these units. So if you step into the hallway and somebody has sound near their front door, you hear it really, really well. And I have now confirmed that at least one neighbor has heard me on multiple occasions on Twitch streaming because she looked at me one day, I stepped outside, and she goes, "Are you a gamer?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Yeah, because I hear you always sound like you're having a great time." So even if I'm screaming and freaking out, apparently I sound like I'm having fun, so.
You did promote the channel, right? You did promote your channel to her, right?
I don't think she actually watches it.
Oh.
But she,
Marketing.
I didn't think to at the time, too, because I was walking the dog. So I was a little occupied with...
There's a dystopia for you folks where we have to keep constantly turning our hobbies into potential revenue streams because of the crushing need to make money to stay alive and keep afloat and
Please support us, folks, because apparently doing something just because you love it does not pay.
Yeah.
By the way, how can our folks get a hold of us if they would like to, say, ask us a question?
Oh, you can go right on over to our various feeds and nonsenses over at, for example, on Twitch, we are the Confabulation Station. YouTube, also the Confabulation Station, which, hey, if you're watching this video, you're already here. Congratulations! Unless it's embedded, in which case, click through and then be there. Hooray! You can find us on Blue Sky at The Confabulators. And you can email us at theconfabulators@gmail.com. Did I miss any? Mm-hmm. Or did I cover the bases?
Nope, you got them all.
Huzzah! I did that without looking, folks.
Yay!
I didn't need my cheat sheets.
Sorry, if you're hearing rattling, I have these 2 dice that I've basically been using like fidget toys the whole
That's
time.
fine. I'm doing the same thing with a strip of nasal decongestant, so...
I want to just point out that this dice has Pac-Man Ghost on it.
Yeah.
This D20 has Pac-Man Ghost. Sorry.
All right. So, with that, we will bid you all farewell. And until next time.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Liz.
I'm Dave.
And I'm E. And hey, guys, if you don't know what a confabulator is, who the heck should we ask?
Not Ayn Rand. He's dead.
George Orwell?
That works.
Also dead.
Yeah, but I'd rather talk to him.
Necromancer.
Ouija board.
Find a necromancer. Yeah, Ouija board, necromancers. Just no one wants to talk to Ayn Rand.
Yeah.
Even from beyond. Until next time, folks.
Laters.
The Confabulators is hosted by Liz Strauss and David Bockenkamp. Editor is E.W. Klein. Theme music is Oh Heavens by Cassidy B. Composer and artist, cbrva.card.co.